Yo. Before I start with my official talk, I'd like to get into some deep gematria, some Kabbalah, that may be all you need to hear tonight from me. If you take the word yo, spell it backwards, what do you have? Boy. I invite you to meditate on that for the next 12 minutes, for all the secrets are there within. Thank you and good night. Just kidding. Allow me to regenesis myself. Two eyes can't help but amuse themselves. Got a hip that hops and a lip that spits till the tip of my toes start to tick when I talk. In the beginning, it is taught. God created the entire universe with just 10 utterances. The first divine mandate was for Adam to name the animals, framing their existence with his vocabulary. As if he said, a bee shall be a bee because of me. A fly shall fly as a fly because of I. Judaism and hip-hop have a particularly intense relationship with words. Take hip-hop slang, for example. Word up. Word is bond. Word to your mother. You heard? Word. Not only that, you can say more words in one song of rap than you can say in an entire album of other genres of music. Similarly, in daily spiritual practice, you have some in which you just say one word and you meditate on it, like and then there's the very word-heavy Judaism, where during the daily prayer of the Amidah, which when I first heard it sounded a little bit like this, and the only thing I've heard that matches that kind of word per second ratio is double time rap. Ain't afraid of what I made, a contemplative innovator, proud to say that I'm a native of the icy scene. I would like to use hip-hop and its oral tradition as a lens through which to look at our oral tradition and how it can help connect us to our past, inform our present, and shape our future. Now, I know there's probably some concern about bringing Judaism, bringing hip-hop into Bible study. After all, the one is lewd, violent, misogynistic, full of killers and concubines, and the other is hip-hop. However, if we're going to start this conversation about some analysis of music, let's go ahead and start with the greatest musician of our tradition, King David. Now, David first steps on the scene when he steps to Goliath. Goliath is the prototypical rap villain. He's this big bad dude standing on one side of the clearing, talking smack to Saul, the Israelites, and anyone else who will listen. He's like the 50 Cent of the biblical narrative. And he bellows at Saul, I am Goliath. I am a beast. Send somebody to the field so the birds can feast. Send somebody to the fields, they come up to my knees. 9 foot tall with a spear that can reach. Now, by taking what Goliath says in Samuel 1, chapter 17, and making it rhyme a little bit, what we end up with is something that not only little David could respond to, but rapper Lil Wayne could respond to as well. He could bellow back, I'm a beast, I'm a dog, I'm a mother-loving problem. Okay, you're a goon, what's a goon to a goblin? Nothing, I ain't scared of nothing. Now, these lines taken from Lil Wayne's rap of Millie exemplify the incredible resemblance of these two lyrical personas. So, moving from the Bible to rabbinics, because that's how we roll in Judaism, Pirkei Avot says, anyone who says something in the name of the one who said it redeems the world. Now, Lil Wayne continues in his rap, Millie. They say I'm rapping like Big Tupac, Andre 3000, where is Erykah Badu at? Paying homage by name to the great MCs who came before him. Biggie Smalls, Tupac Shakur, Erykah Badu, Andre Benjamin. And you can be sure that these MCs connect themselves to their predecessors. Similarly, on any page of Talmud, you can hear the arguments begin with Rav Kuni, said in the name of Rav Yosef, said in the name of Rav Hani, bringing these voices of the past, redeeming those voices, and further legitimizing the current discussion. So what started this need to bring in old conversations and have them inform current conversations? This is the equation of the oral tradition. What is the origin of this? The origin of hip-hop actually goes back to the 70s, when there was a recession in the 5 boroughs of New York City, decided that they had to cut band and music class in public education. Being that instruments and music is a cornerstone of self-expression for many teens, some teens responded to this by creating instruments when there were no instruments. Bronx DJ African Boombata took 2 of his parents' record players, brought them to the local park, plugged them in, set them up, took 2 of his parents' records, like let's say a James Brown and a Parliament Funkadelic record, and he created a loop out of these 2 records. Out of two different songs, he was able to create 1 beat. So check it out. This is what he did. He found 4 measures that was dope in the James Brown song, like a nice trumpet solo. And then he found a nice 4 measures of a backbeat in the Parliament Funkadelic. And so by playing it and then rewinding it with his fingers and starting it when the other one ends, he was able to create a loop, a new beat out of these different pieces of music. So, and it's this loop that the rapper would end up rapping to. In response to having no instruments, a new musical genre, rap, along with a new culture, hip-hop, was born. And it also gave people in the present a chance to rap with the old voices of the past. Now, elsewhere in the 70s, not the 1970s, but like Common Era 70s, the cornerstone of Jewish self-expression was torn from their hands. The long-standing temple with its Kohanim, the priests, the divine intercessors between Hashem and the Jews, the place where all the Jews would congregate many times a year to have a barbecue and party, the place where you bring your sacrifices, that was destroyed by the Romans. And during this destruction, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai escaped, and he cut a backroom deal with Emperor Vespasian. And basically he said, look, Emperor Vespasian, I'll get these Jews out of your hair and out of the cisterns where they're hiding from the Roman blade. All I ask is that you give me Yavna, this place in the boonies, kind of the Bronx of Judea Samaria. And let me take some real smart dudes that I know. Let us just go up there, we admit defeat, we'll retreat there, and let us collect our thoughts. And after about 600 years and many generations, the rabbis finished collecting their thoughts into what is called the Talmud. Now the Talmud consists of the Mishnah, which are succinct recollections of what the masters said about Judaism before the temple was destroyed. And that's remixed with the Gemara, which is about 4 centuries of conversations between rabbis about what the Mishnah means. And it's this conversation which followed the wandering tribe, turning them into the people of the book. And it's this storehouse of accumulated knowledge, this empire of words, not contingent on physical structure, about how to live a holy and how to live a meaningful life that we seek not to lose in assimilation. So we ask our children and our students, or some demand us, or make us go to Hebrew school like my parents. All good, though. I thank God for them now. Look at me now, Mom and Rabbi Jeff. We ask them to go learn Torah, learn Torah, learn Torah, learn Torah, bit by bit, from alphabet to sentences to passages to pages with phrases from sages, oh baby. Because the oral tradition only survives not only listening to it, but you got to add your voice to it. Even when you disagree with it. Especially when you disagree with it. After all, didn't Abraham talk back to God concerning Sodom and Gomorrah and its fate? So long as the conversation between our generation and the past generations is authentic, the oral tradition remains alive and vital. Now, conversation is part and parcel to how the Jews not only relate to their past, but also how we learn with one another. The traditional way of learning in Judaism is with a chavruta. We're a learning partner. The Talmud defines the chavruta as 2 scholars learning together, sharpening one another. In the Beit Midrash, yeah, I get my study on. Me and my chavruta, yeah, we get our buddy on. This is not a library, this is quite contrary. If you want peace and quiet, go and join a monastery. Because Jewish learning is not at all like a library, which actually does come from the monastery tradition. This idea of being alone and learning just in solitude and being quiet. In fact, it's very different. It's learning with a partner and going at it with one another about what the text means. And the louder you are, the more learning that's happening. The more gestures and the more fierce the gesticulations, the more likely there's good learning going on. And this idea of learning with a partner in kind of a verbal sparring match is very much like battle rap. Battle rap is this idea of me against you about what's real, what's good. And I try to say things that will push you to say things even more original than what I said, even fresher than what I said. And this type of relationship, both with chavruta and battle rap, can get very intense. And we have some examples when it goes too far. Now, you might be aware of the infamous battle rap that went awry, Biggie and Tupac, the epitome of a rap battle going awry. And incredibly, Judaism has its own Biggie and Tupac, which shows when a chavruta can go too far. And it has to do with the chavruta of Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Now, Reish Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan was one of the greatest scholars of his day, probably the greatest. And his main chavruta and best disciple, Reish Lakish, was a former gangster, but now a holy man. However, he still kept a G when it came to Jewish learning. And it was Yochanan who exalted this intellectual gangster. He would say, after Reish Lakish passed, he said, these new chavruta bring me 25 reasons why I'm right. Reish Lakish brought me 25 reasons why I'm wrong. And that is why he was so valued by Yochanan, because he was the ultimate verbal sparring partner. And incredibly, though Reish Lakish in his gangster days was probably in many knife fights, it was the edge of a word that killed Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan, when he was cornered in a debate about what the text meant, did a low blow, personal attack insult to Reish Lakish, and it broke Reish Lakish's heart. Because in certain situations, words can be that serious. And it killed Reish Lakish. Now, the rabbis remind us that lashon hara, evil speech, is equivalent to murder. But I'm not suggesting that we teach our students to pull drive-bys on behalf of Torah, which, by the way, did happen with the most famous chavruta, Hillel and Shammai. Shammai students did pull a drive-by on Hillel students. This is in the Talmud. I'm not making this up. You can Google it. However, what I am trying to say is we can glean a great deal from hip-hop and how vitality is generated in the words that are spoken in that discourse. When I bring hip-hop into my classroom, something very special happens. First, I have the students read what the sages said in former days, centuries ago. And then I have them respond to it in their own words. And for a lot of these kids, because rap is the #1 musical genre for the younger kids, and hip-hop the dominant culture, their own words is rap. So I have them write raps in response to what the sages said. But this is basic pedagogy. Read what they said and then respond to it in your own words. But when they take their lyrics and they put that paper up and they have to spit, they put in earphones on, they step up to the mic, their peers are watching, and they have to spit those words that they wrote, it's no longer just a cerebral activity. When the metric of quality in hip-hop is authenticity, when they step to that mic, I can hear them corral their identity into the words that they're saying. I can hear them put their spirit behind their words. And when I hear them do this, I know in response to the conversations that have gone by in the oral tradition of years gone by, I know, I can hear at least, that the oral tradition is alive and well, and sometimes I even think it's fricka fresh. Thank you.